Eagles take the field. It is week 2 across the National Football League, and a good matchup for you today on Fox. The Philadelphia Eagles at home taking on the 1-0 New Orleans Saints. And now welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. I am Joe Buck. Troy Aikman and Pam Oliver both are coming up. This is a good matchup. This is a matchup of 2 high-powered offenses last week. The New Orleans Saints just took apart the Detroit Lions defense, and really on the other side it was the Philadelphia Eagles defense dismantling Jake Delhomme and the Carolina Panthers offense. I bring in my partner Troy, and if we start with New Orleans, it's still kind of the best kept secret in the NFL. What Drew Brees and the Saints are doing on offense, it's impressive.
Been unbelievable what Drew Brees has been able to do since he came over to the New Orleans Saints, and a great start to this season last week with 6 touchdown passes. Little different test for him today against this Eagles defense. We do know this: the Saints go as far as Drew Brees will take them, both offensively and as a team. It's going to be real important that they give him some time to throw the football today.
His counterpart on the other side, Kevin Kolb, 3rd year, first NFL start. What should we expect to see?
Well, you know, the fact that he got a chance to prepare all week long, you know, he said that if I don't go out and play well in this ball game, it won't be from a lack of preparation. I had an opportunity to visit with him just a few moments ago. He said he slept well last night. He's excited, and I think he'll play well.
I wonder how he's going to sleep tonight after that first start here in the NFL today against the New Orleans Saints. We will take a break, and there is plenty more to come from Philadelphia. We'll be back after this from the Verizon Football Zone. And welcome back to Philadelphia, getting ready for the opening kickoff. It's the Saints and the Eagles, week 2 in the NFL. It's time for the Autotrader.com ultimate quarterback comparison, and really there is no comparison. Drew Brees, 6 touchdowns last week, taking on Kevin Kolb, first career start in place of the injured Donovan McNabb. Autotrader.com, the ultimate automotive marketplace. For more, let's go down on the field. Here's Pam Oliver.
Hey, Joe, a lot of people that I spoke with on offense feel that Kevin Kolb will be just fine once those nerves are in control. Because the Eagles practiced so long and so hard, they feel Kolb got a lot of quality work on things like cadence and timing with his receivers. Back to you.
All right, Pam, thank you very much. Beautiful day in Philly. Kickoff coming up next.
Fox Sports welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
How about this? Sheldon Brown took the field this way. Must be how he looked to Jake Delhomme last week with his 2 interceptions, like Mike Myers or Jason.
that Eagles defense is scary enough. I'm just wondering if the league is going to call that a prop.
I don't know.
He might be.
Good question.
He might be getting a letter from the league.
It might be like a $10,000 mask we just looked at. There's Sean Payton. What a start he had when he came to the New Orleans Saints. It was a franchise that needed direction. He gave them instant direction his first year. He goes 10-6. They get to the NFC Championship game, but since then they've gone 7-9, 8-8. They seem, Troy, to be poised for kind of a rebound year in the NFC South. They brought up the rear in that division last year. I don't see that here in 2009.
No, and nor does Sean Payton. I know in visiting with him in the offseason, he was very excited about some of the things that they had done in the offseason. Obviously, offensively, they've been as good or better than everyone else for the last several years. It was the defensive side of the ball that needed to be shored up, and he thinks he's headed in the right direction with the acquisition of Greg Williams as his defensive coordinator.
And then on the other side, you've got Andy Reid, who in a decade here in Philadelphia has been one of the most successful head coaches in the NFL, now in his 11th season. Moments ago, they just had a moment of silence here at Lincoln Financial Field for the late Jim Johnson, the late and great Jim Johnson, longtime defensive coordinator. And in the 10 years that Andy Reid's been here, Troy, you can make the case, and I think it's a strong one, that the biggest acquisition Andy Reid made since he came to Philadelphia was bringing Jim Johnson with him to coordinate his defense.
It was the first hire he made on his staff once he got named the head coach. And it was certainly the right one.
Akers kicks it away, and Courtney Roby, just added to the roster for the Saints, takes it from the 5. And runs into a wall at the 25, falls forward to the 26. Sean Jones was there to make the stop for the Philadelphia Eagles. And here comes Drew Brees, who last year was the NFL's Offensive Player of the Year, went to his second Pro Bowl, was 16 yards shy of a new NFL record for the most passing yards in a single season. There's your question mark, Troy, that offensive line and how they protect him.
I didn't think this offensive line looked very good last week, and yet they were able to go for over 500 yards of offense. This will be a real test today.
Quick setup and throw, and the pass is complete to the tight end, David Thomas. The tight end that the Saints picked up from the New England Patriots the first week of September. And here's the defense. So you talk about Jim Johnson. And studying under Jim Johnson, Sean McDermott, the 35-year-old defensive coordinator. Pam had a feature on him and the defense prior to this game on Fox NFL Sunday. And they start Macho Harris, a rookie, at free safety. Brees rolls out, hits his tight end Shockey. Good for 7, and so 2 quick throws to the tight ends to start the day for Drew Brees.
And what New Orleans has done here on these first 2 plays is just stay ahead of the chains, and that's going to be real important throughout this entire game. On first down, they pick up a first down, and then on this last first down, they come out on the naked boot, and here they are looking at 2nd and 3. That's going to be key. You can't get into 3rd and long downs against this aggressive defense.
On 2nd and first down for the Saints. Shockey's name was introduced to the crowd here. They booed him for all those years and all those games while playing with the Giants.
And here's what Drew Brees is able to do. You can see he looks the defenders to the flat, and that's what opens up this big hole in behind it. I don't know that there's anybody better in the league right now at moving defenders as what Drew Brees is.
First run of the game, and it's Bell, who had a big day last week against Detroit, picks up 4. And Mike Bell, who was first introduced in the NFL with the Denver Broncos, had 143 yards rushing last week on a career high 28 carries. Did have 1 fumble, but really took over that running back position while he plays for the injured Pierre Thomas.
You know, Mike Bell came into the league a few years back with Denver as an undrafted free agent, had a nice year, a few starts, and really hadn't heard from him since then until last week.
Handoff is to Reggie Bush. Bush takes it to the 35, picked up 2, and a relatively short 3rd down coming up for New Orleans.
Yeah, and we'll see what Sean McDermott decides to do here. This is the first 3rd down of this series. This is generally when the Eagles like to bring pressure. But because it's a manageable 3rd and 4, you've got to be careful. If you bring that, then you're going to be manning up against Reggie Bush and some of these talented wide receivers.
The Saints are not in field goal range for John Carney. They may be now as a first down to the 30, and another catch for Shockey, his 3rd. That's good for 5 yards. And it's been everything underneath, over the middle, and Drew Brees can make it look awfully easy.
Got a little pressure there off the edge, but Drew Brees was able to move enough, and that was a pretty easy conversion. You know, this team's as good as anybody in converting 3rd downs. Jeremy Shockey goes down the field, hooks up, and he puts it right on him.
They do an end around, hand it to Meacham. And he is out of bounds near the 15-yard line. Robert Meacham on the carry, Quentin Michael on the stop, and this has been a methodical drive down the field off the opening kickoff for the Saints, who lit up Detroit last week. And they're trying to do it against a much better defense here in Philadelphia.
This drive right here for New Orleans is a little reminiscent of what Carolina did last week. You know, they were able to go down, and really that was the only possession that they did anything with. The Saints take the opening kickoff, and they've been pretty methodical here on this drive.
Empty backfield behind Drew Brees, not anymore, and they fake a toss to Bush. Shoot for the end zone, and wide open is Colston. Touchdown New Orleans, but a flag is down at the 7. And it's against Philadelphia. That'll stand.
Holding, number 58, defense. A penalty is refused. A result of the play is a touchdown.
Well, you see Reggie Bush, he goes in motion across the formation as a decoy play action, and then they kind of went to sleep on the backside. You got Asante Samuel who hangs underneath flat, and Marcus Colston just runs a corner route. Asante Samuel could have been underneath that, and then he also was expecting safety help, and neither guy went with Colston.
What a start for the Saints. And New Orleans picks up right where they left off against Detroit, and for the second straight week, that man, number 9, Drew Brees, starts 5 for 5 and gets his team into the end zone.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines is ready when you are. Go to southwest.com, grab your bag, it's on.
Well, a defensive huddle for the Philadelphia Eagles with good reason. They were just taken apart by Drew Brees in this offense. A lot to the tight ends, a touchdown to Marcus Colston, gets his second of the season. Had the Saints first last week. Ellis Hobbs waits for the kickoff from Thomas Morstead, who's got a big leg. From a yard deep. Ellis Hobbs, a former New England Patriot, with a decent return. Penalty flag comes flying from the near side of the field as Hobbs got it out to the 24-yard line. So we will check the flag. We've already heard from Alberto Riveron, who's the referee.
Holding, number 28, on the return during the run back. 10-yard penalty, first down.
So now Kevin Cobb. Kevin Cobb making his first NFL start. And I think, Troy, when you start looking at the numbers don't overwhelm you, but it's always been in relief, and it's never been his week. And now he seems relieved almost that he gets to play with this offense all week long.
Well, that should help, and he's a pretty cool customer, but I can assure you that he's got a knot in his stomach, and he's pretty wired right now.
They start with an empty backfield, and Cobb comes underneath and hits the rookie Macklin. First NFL catch for Jeremy Macklin, and that's good for 6 yards.
I'll tell you what, that's probably the best feeling that Kevin Cobb's had in quite some time, to come out here on the first play. And really, Andy Reid, now the Eagles script the first 15 to 20 plays going into a game. The fact that he knew last night when he went to bed he was going to have a pass play on the first possession, the first snap, for him to complete that, I think that's big.
Handoff is to Westbrook, running left. Turned nothing into something, a gain of 2. Scott Shanley there for the Saints. And we look at this defense. Kendrick Clancy is not active up front. Remy Adele makes the start. And then you go to the linebackers, and the big changes, Troy, in this defense, not just the coordinator Greg Williams you talked about, but in the secondary.
Yeah, and really the only changes along this defense are in the secondary, with Darren Sharper coming off a 2-interception game last week, and Jabari Greer. And then on the other corner, they've got a healthy Tracy Porter.
Wildcat formation. Cobb at the top of the screen. Deshaun Jackson in at quarterback. And they snap it directly to Deshaun Jackson, who gets a first down. Got around Jabari Greer, picked up 6, and once he broke that tackle, it was a first down, Philadelphia.
I tell you, I've gotten a chance now to see Deshaun Jackson in the Wildcat. We saw him last week on the wide receiver reverse, and he's one of those rare athletes at this level that when he gets the ball in his hands, he just looks faster than everybody else. I mean, he is a dynamic player, and any time that they can get the ball in his hands in space, that's what they want. Now, what he does not give them that a guy like Michael Vick does when he comes back is the ability to throw the football.
Cobb with a good pocket, goes down the middle of the field, and he's got Deshaun Jackson. How about this start in Philadelphia? Touchdown Eagles. No flags. first touchdown of his NFL career and his first start of his NFL career, and it's 7-7. They didn't dial it back. Cobb's day started with a throw, and this drive ends with a throw. 71 yards to Deshaun Jackson. And here in Philadelphia, the offenses are opened up, tied at 7. Kevin Cobb now gets to stand and catch his breath over on the sideline. His first 46 career passes in the NFL, covered 167 yards. The last one 71 yards to Deshaun Jackson, and taking a knee is Courtney Roby. The matchup today, Kevin Cobb, number 4, quarterback for the Eagles. Defensive coordinator Greg Williams for the Saints. Cobb won that battle.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Visa. Visa debit is easier than cash. More people go with Visa. By State Farm. To us, nothing's more important than being there. And by the all-new Taurus from Ford. Drive one.
You go back and take a look. They're going to bring slot blitz. And Winston Justice does a great job of picking that up. That's what gives Cobb some time to step up in the pocket. Now, Darren Sharper thought he was going to get some help from Roman Harper on the backside. Roman Harper bit on the tight end route to the other side of the field, and that's what opened up the lane and why Deshaun Jackson was as open as what he was.
A satisfied Kevin Cobb now watches the Philadelphia defense try and figure out Drew Brees. And Brees is smacked by Cole.
One of the things that Sean Payton said coming into this game, we cannot let Trent Cole dominate the line of scrimmage. Not bad protection really on the backside of that. Drew Brees trying to escape out the backside and plays right into the hands of Trent Cole. This is unusual to see from Drew Brees. Typically when he gets pressure, he slides out and away or unloads the ball.
Brees comes to the middle of the field for Shockey, incomplete. Last week, this Eagles defense, Troy, as you mentioned, gave up a touchdown to Carolina on the first possession of the game by the Panthers, but then just shut down the offense. Carolina had only 99 yards the entire rest of the game. Philly came out of that game with 7 takeaways. It's 3rd and 19. Brees underneath. Pass is complete. That's Colston, and he is shoved out of bounds with a 15-yard gain short of a first down.
Really nice defensive series that time by Philadelphia. You're right, Joe. It's almost as if they've got to get through that first possession before they really come alive. And, you know, they were able to here on this second defensive performance. And were able to get some pressure on Drew Brees. And he's a guy who is not sacked very often, only 13 times all of last year.
Deshaun Jackson waits for this punt from Morstead and calls for a fair catch. Hauls it in at the 23. Said Deshaun Jackson's name plenty already. Philly has it, second time, tied at 7. We're still here, evidently a flag on the field. I'm still looking for it. Riverone is talking one of the other officials, and here's the call.
Personal foul, number 91, unnecessary roughness, the receiving team. A penalty will be enforced half the distance from the end of the kick. Timeout.
So it came in late. It's Chris Clemens, and that will march the Eagles back toward their own end zone. Now we take a break. Second chance for Cobb when we come back. You can't meet with Kevin Cobb and come out of the meeting not thinking that he's going to be successful. He was not intimidated by this start at all. A confident Texan. So there I am sitting in the quarterbacks meeting, and I see Jeff Garcia, Donovan McNabb, and Michael Vick. 12 Pro Bowls amongst the other 3, and I'm getting the start. What a start it was. 7-7 as he hands to Westbrook over the right side. Good start for the second drive, a gain of 6, and we go back to Reggie Bush on that previous series and check out what happened to his right shoulder.
Yeah, you're going to see him here in pass protection, and he's going to make a pretty good block there on Jaquay Parker, but when he came down, he landed on that shoulder, and we've just noticed when he came off the field, he's tending to it a little bit. Now, what the extent of the injury is, it's hard to tell, but it's obvious that something's not quite right.
Second down and 4, Wildcat formation. And a handoff to Westbrook, who gets it on the handoff from Jackson. And a first down at the 25. Let's go to Kurt Menefee for a game break.
Well, Tim Hightower had 10 rushing touchdowns as a rookie for the Arizona Cardinals last year. Today in Jacksonville, he gets another one, putting Arizona on top early on 7-3. Joe Troy Van.
All right, the Arizona Cardinals, who started 0-1, losing to the San Francisco 49ers in week 1, and that San Francisco team might be a club to watch.
You know, you talk about the 12 Pro Bowls in the quarterback meeting for the Eagles, and then here today you add the 5 that Drew Brees and Mark Brunell have, and then you're up to 17.
And a false start.
False start. Number 10, offense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
I liked when Cobb sat down and he kind of exhaled and he was talking to you quarterback to quarterback, and he was basically saying, I don't want to over prepare. Everybody's been loading me up now, and it was on Friday. He said, now I just want to write on my index cards what I need to remember and kind of get away from it and clear my mind, which seems to have worked here early. Off to Westbrook, who hesitates and picks up 4.
You go back to that last possession on the touchdown pass by Kevin Cobb, and the one thing that Greg Williams said last night was that, hey, we can't give up the big play. I mean, when you look back at the Saints and the area that they've got to do a better job defensively, it's not giving up the big plays. They gave up a big one last week to Calvin Johnson. It was somewhat irrelevant because of the way that game went, but they gave up another big one here in this first half.
Cobb throws and in and out of the arms of Kevin Curtis, who's playing with a sore knee. Porter made the play, and it's third down now, 3rd and 11 for this Philadelphia offense.
You know, when you go back to Kevin Cobb and kind of what's happened to him, I know that the organization is very high on him. I know Jeff Lurie, in talking with him the other day, he said there's not a guy in our locker room that's more respected than Kevin Cobb. And that's a pretty high statement right there. But he came in off the bench at Baltimore. That's a difficult defense to come in off the bench and play well against. So having the entire week to prepare, no question, it should be a better outing.
Cobb has to scramble and now wisely throws it away, looking in the direction of Brent Selleck, who's probably his closest friend on the team. First time he's thrown in his direction, and a good piece of work by the Saints defense this time to force a punt.
You know, the Saints defensively, I know that, you know, they feel that they're going to be better, but if you look at their personnel, I mean, they just really haven't made a whole lot of changes. I mean, it's going to be Greg Williams is really the reason why this defense is going to be better, if in fact it is better when it's all said and done.
Penalty flag on the punt. Sam Rocca hits a good one. Reggie Bush with some room to run. Again, a flag is down, and Bush is out of bounds near the 30. 57-yard punt, but we'll check. It's an illegal shift against the Eagles. So we'll see what the Saints want to do with it. Re-kick or tack on 5 yards at the end. Might want to think about re-kicking and putting the ball in the hands of Bush again.
Illegal shift. Number 21, number 27, kicking team. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. 4th down.
The Saints have their option of either tacking on 5 yards at the end of that run back or making the Eagles kick again, which they'll do. Eagles have 4 penalties so far in this game. 3 have come on special teams. Reggie Bush has 4 career punt returns for touchdowns. Mishandled 2 last week, dropped 1, muffed a punt, then fumbled 1. Now a late substitution for the Eagles for this repunt. And not as good a punt. We'll see where they mark it. But the Saints get the better of that exchange as they will mark it at the 47. So that's 17 yards in field position because of that penalty after just a 34-yard punt. So we've seen one from each side. Colston, Deshaun Jackson. 3rd possession for the Saints. Good starting field position. And there's your quarterback comparison in the first quarter with just over 5 left. Breeze underneath, passes dropped. Devery Henderson. Last week the Saints, they opened strong, no doubt. They beat the Lions 45-7. Drew Brees 6 touchdown passes. Shockey gets 2 of them. Had none last year. And then Mike Bell with the big day, 143 yards rushing on a career high 28 carries. And there is head coach Sean Payton. 2nd and 10. Handoff is to Bell. Plenty of room to run, and Mike Bell is down to the 31. 23-yard run for Mike Bell, who in 2 weeks is trying to make a name for himself at running back for the Saints.
Well, they go to a single high safety, and that single safety is Macho Harris, 35, the rookie. And you can see when Bell gets through the line, he's the only guy there to then make the tackle. Because he was so deep, it was a pretty significant gain.
Hurry up offense now for the Saints, who didn't huddle prior to that last play. A carry of 2 yards by Bell. Game break coming up as we're at 4.5 minutes left in this first quarter in Philadelphia.
A lot of substitutions that are taking place from the New Orleans Saints, and Sean Payton trying to create some matchup problems, shuttling in 2 and 3 guys at a time.
2nd and 8. Breeze with plenty of time underneath the Bell, and Bell is down to the 19-yard line. Let's go to Kurt for another game break.
Well, Joe, some considered Houston's Andre Johnson the best wide receiver in the game, and here's one reason why. Check out the one-handed hole-in on the 19-yard score from Matt Schaub, and Houston and the Titans all tied at 7 in the first quarter. Joe, Troy, and Pam.
All right, Kurt, thanks. Second time inside the red zone here in Philadelphia for the Saints. Underneath again, it's Reggie Bush. Turns on the Jets, and he is down just outside the 10. Brown and Gocom made the stop for Philadelphia, and this is another effective drive being put together by Drew Brees.
And they're going to a no huddle again, and that's what Drew Brees and Sean Payton do such a great job of, is really changing up the tempo of the game.
Now they hand to Bush. He tries to get to the edge. He has enough for a first down. Got around to Asante Samuel, picked up 3. And it brings up 1st and goal.
I mean, really doing a good job from the sideline, Sean Payton. I mentioned it a moment ago in terms of changing up the personnel and making Sean McDermott try to match that as quickly as possible. A chance there to make a tackle on Bush in the backfield, keep him from picking up the first down. Good job getting to the outside. Now they bring in the extra backup lineman, Zach Street, to help in protection.
There's number 64 on the end of the line, and not enough protection there as Bell carries it. And Quentin Michael, who is the starting strong safety, there to make the stop, a loss of 1.
Yeah, 64 they bring in, the Saints do, from time to time, not always running the football when he comes into the game. A lot of times they do it, especially against a defense like the Philadelphia Eagles. Give them an extra blocker, someone who's much more stout than what you would get from a conventional tight end.
Second and goal, fake toss, and Bush wasn't ready for it. Coming up the middle was Broderick Bunkley, and he was in the face of Drew Brees, made Drew throw it before he wanted to.
Well, this defensive front for Philadelphia, they really do a good job of rotating their guys. I mean, last week, if you were active, you were playing. And not just along that defensive line, but the entire defense. Right now, here comes some more, and they're able to keep them fresh. Great confidence in every guy who suits up to play on Sunday.
Third down and goal. The pass is caught, and a good play by Sheldon Brown saved a touchdown. Marcus Colston made the grab, and Sheldon Brown was the only one there for Philadelphia. He brought him down.
Yeah, you called it, Joe. I mean, here you got Sheldon Brown against a big receiver in Marcus Colston, and all he's got to do is get him to the ground. That's sometimes easier said than done when he's in the open field, but a good tackle by Sheldon Brown, and that's something that he has always excelled at.
The interesting part of that play was there were so many defensive substitutions. Asante Samuel was on the near side trying to call timeout prior to the snap. Didn't believe that Philadelphia was ready for that snap. They evidently were, or at least Sheldon Brown was, because that play that Sheldon Brown made out in space saved the touchdown. And so now it's a 10-7 game. New Orleans on top, and you know, you come into a game between the Saints and the Eagles, you expect to see a lot of offense when everybody's healthy. And even with Kevin Cobb, we've seen a little back and forth already.
Yeah, we've probably seen a little more offense here early than what maybe I anticipated. One, because of Kevin Cobb making his first start, and then the other thing about the Saints. Obviously a very explosive offensive group, but this defensive team for Philadelphia, excellent. I thought that last possession was good by Philadelphia in terms of holding them out of the end zone and just giving up the 3 points.
So now the Saints are 1 for 2 inside the red zone in this game, trying to pound it in for a touchdown, and we'll see how Kevin Cobb responds. There's Drew Brees, and if you don't know it, I touched on part of it. The 5,069 yards last year, 16 yards shy of a new NFL record. Passing yards in a season. Had 10 300-yard games, 34 touchdown passes, a Saints record, a quarterback rating of 96.2, and that quarterback rating on third down was 117.8. He has really settled in, and I think on some level surprised himself as to how much he enjoys the city of New Orleans. He and his wife want to stay there, raise a family there, and it's been a good fit. Ellis Hobbs will watch it go out of bounds, and so a mistake by Thomas Morstead, the rookie out of SMU.
Out of bounds. The ball we placed yard line, first down.
So up to the 40, and that's a big mistake for a guy who has shown a big leg. Weekdays make lunchtime your new prime time as FoxSports.com brings you lunch with benefits. Log on to check out new episodes of original sports shows delivered to your desktop every Monday through Friday at 1 Eastern. Tomorrow, don't miss the after party with Jay Glazer, where Jay chats with all of today's biggest performers only on FoxSports.com, powered by MSN. Here is a snap to Westbrook, and Brian Westbrook picks up 6, and there's a lot of shifting. Seen a lot of the Wildcat already. We're only in the opening quarter, and now Cobb is back in that huddle and should line up under center.
And I think there's a lot more in that whole repertoire that they have of the Wildcat and the variations that are going to come off of that. We're certainly going to see more when Michael Vick comes back, but I know in visiting with Andy Reid, he had a little time this summer when he was vacationing out in California. Here it is again, and he had time to draw a few things up.
They hand it off. Now flip it to Cobb, who's going to air it out if he has time. Throws off his back foot in the direction of Jeremy Maclin, incomplete. And the pressure by the Saints blew up that play.
But you know what? That was actually a good play by Kevin Cobb, because the problem that he has had when he's gotten in these games is he's not been willing to just throw it away. He's held on to the ball, and as a result, he's had it knocked out of his hands, or he's tried to do too much, and there's been an interception. And that has been told to him all week long. If you don't have it, throw it away. And so even though that didn't look very pretty, I know those coaches are pretty happy with the decision.
Third down. Cobb has all day and throws a rocket off the hands of Jackson, incomplete. It's fourth down.
A good series by New Orleans there defensively. You know, Greg Williams talked about it, said, hey, this isn't your conventional West Coast offense. They like to block people up. They're going to take their shots. We've seen that. They present a lot of problems, especially when they start getting into some of those wildcat formations that everybody's still trying to figure out. But a good job of getting off the field.
Sam Rocca. It's a good one this time. Over the head of Reggie Bush and into the end zone. So a touchback, and the Saints, who lead by 3, will have it at their own 20. Since 2006, the quarterback of the Saints, Drew Brees, leads the NFL in pass yardage, attempts, completions, 300-yard games, touchdown passes, passing first downs, and then the big plays, completions of 25 or more yards.
And where they've got to get better as an offense is they've got to get more out of their running game. And they're never gonna rank real high running the football, because they're not gonna run it enough. But where they've got to be better is when they do run it, they've got to be more effective. They're not even that effective the few times they do run the ball.
Pretty good today. 7 carries, 48 yards, and they go to the ground here with Bell, who picks up 4. Last year, the Saints were 28th in the NFL in rushing, averaging under 100 rush yards per game.
Yeah, and I think that's what they're hoping they get from a guy like Mike Bell. You know, they run the reverse, they're able to pick up some yards that way, and that's something that is always a staple within this offense in Sean Payton. But if they can get a guy who they believe, because as much as they throw it, as much as they spread people out, there should be some running lanes for a running back to be able to put up some decent numbers.
Quick throw, and the pass is complete to Colston. And Marcus Colston has enough for a first down, picked up 8. Quick catch and run.
And that's kind of their running game there in a lot of ways. They get the quick passing game, and they treat that as an extended handoff.
And that's it for the first quarter here in Philadelphia. Good, exciting first quarter. 10-7 New Orleans. Back after this from your local Fox station. There's Jeff Garcia, who is back in the Philadelphia Eagles organization, asked for his release from the Oakland Raiders heading into the season. A guy who in 06 was 5-1 as a starter, replacing Donovan McNabb. Now talking to Donovan's latest replacement, Kevin Cobb. First down for the Saints. Brees with all day, and there's no pressure on Drew Brees. Henderson makes the catch. Gave up first down yardage, then went back around and picked up 16 total. And a good start to the second quarter for New Orleans.
And if you give Drew Brees this kind of time, then you're able to run some of these routes like you're going to see on the outside with Devery Henderson. He looks like he's going to start to the corner, and then he hooks it up right there. So now you've got a defender who's trying to guard against the corner route, and with that kind of speed and quickness like Devery Henderson has, it's almost impossible to stop. I mean, the Eagles, outside of that sack, really have not gotten any pressure on Drew Brees.
And that'll be a false start against Jari Evans.
False start. Number 73, offense, 5-yard penalty. First down.
So the Saints huddle up. We go for a game break. Here's Kurt.
Saints fans wanted to know what else is happening in the NFC South. It's Atlanta. Matt Ryan hooking up with Tony Gonzalez. Nice catch on the 24-yard score. 2 weeks, 2 TDs for the new acquisition. It's 7-3 Falcons on top of the Panthers. Joe, Troy, and Pat.
The old 10-time Pro Bowler can still do it. What a weapon in the red zone for Matt Ryan. First and 15. That was the first Saints penalty, and Reggie Bush trying to make something happen, and he cannot. as Joselio Hansen makes the play, a loss of 4.
A little lighter moment earlier with Jeremy Shockey and Sean Payton, and Jeremy Shockey, I think right now is at a good place, and he really has had some good years going back to New York and then with the Saints under Sean Payton. I mean, Sean Payton knows what he does best. He puts him in those situations, but more than anything right now this year, Shockey is healthy for the first time in a long time.
2nd and 19, a little pump, and now over the middle it's Colston. Team Jordan on the tackle. Colston gets 7, 3rd down coming up.
Well, and here's the 3rd down that we talked about, and I've got to believe that Sean McDermott is going to come after him. One of the things that we always tried to do back when I was playing, similar style of defense, the Philadelphia Eagles always have been that aggressive, is just try to stay out of 3rd downs altogether. And I know that was something that the Saints were hoping to be able to do as well. They've gotten into some short yardage situations, but now here they are 3rd and long.
Breeze steps up, fires, hits Henderson, 1st down, and Devery Henderson, who has made a career of long catches in the NFL. He led the league with just under 25 yards per catch, gets 17 and a 1st down.
Yeah, and uncontested. I mean, you can tell the respect that Asante Samuel has for Devery Henderson, and it's because the Saints are willing to throw the ball down the field. We talked a little bit earlier about their big play ability. Those defensive backs know that. They're worried about him running by. It opens up the intermediate routes.
Henderson with 2 catches, 33 yards on this drive. Quentin Michael makes the stop on Reggie Bush. Good run of 7 yards.
I'll be honest with you, Joe, coming into this game and seeing what the Eagles were able to do last week against Carolina and the pressure that they got on Jake Delhomme, I really thought that front was going to do a much better job than what we've seen here in the first half of getting pressure on Drew Brees. We've not seen that. This offensive line really has done a good job overall.
Eagles defense has already given up more yards in this game than they did all last week at Carolina. Here's Bell. 2 yards short of a 1st down. Mike Bell burst on the scene back in 2006 with the Denver Broncos. 677 yards, 8 touchdowns, was undrafted as a rookie. Then the Broncos signed Travis Henry, tried to turn Mike Anderson into a fullback, and his career fizzled the last couple of years until right now. It's 3rd and 2. Breeze rolls, the pass is batted up and intercepted. What a play by Hakeem Jordan. Did it all himself. And the 2nd interception of the season for Drew Brees. Hakeem Jordan had to work for it. Tipped it up, spun around, made the catch, and a turnover in Philly.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Windows. Life without walls. By Miller Lite. There's light beer, and then there's triple hops brewed Miller Lite. Taste greatness. And by Hyundai Assurance. A little certainty in uncertain times.
10-7 and the turnover. Hakeem Jordan made the play all himself. No picks in his first 25 career games. Now he has his 2nd in as many weeks. Wildcat formation yet again. And a straight snap to Deshaun Jackson, who has a blocker out in front of him. And Jackson picks up 4.
You go back to the interception. David Thomas right here, the tight end. He's the one who's going to be running the crossing route. First, Drew looks out in front of him, sees nothing, tries to come back to him, and it was going to be a tight fit anyway because of Omar Gaither in coverage, but trying to get it over Hakeem Jordan was not able to do that. But really a superior play there by Hakeem Jordan. Pretty athletic move, being able to intercept that ball.
Fake the handoff on 2nd and 6, and Cobb throws underneath the Selleck, who stays in bounds and has defense lurched enough for a first down. Good work by Selleck along the sideline.
Yeah, it was, because at one point it looked like Cobb was just going to throw it out of bounds, but Selleck kept himself alive and Cobb kept his eyes down the field, and they wind up making a play. You mentioned it. These two guys are best friends. They're roommates on the road. They're roommates the night before games. Last night they had a chance to visit about today's game, and Brent said he did everything he could to try to calm old Kevin Cobb down.
Another straight snap, and it's Westbrook right up the gut of this Saints defense. More Wildcat and 16 yards on a carry by Brian Westbrook.
A pretty heavy dose of the Wildcat right here in this first half, and given a lot of different looks off of it as well. Boy, the middle just opened right up. You see Westbrook, he makes the fake, and then he's able to make enough moves, and look at the lane right there that he had to run in.
6 times the Eagles have been in a quote-unquote Wildcat formation. How about an inside pitch? That's Westbrook with Max Gene Gillis in front of him, and a gain of 8. I kind of think Andy Reid's doing this just to humor you up here in the booth. All your questions about the Wildcat when we sat down with him on Friday.
I did get a little in depth about the Wildcat, didn't I?
Well, you're seeing everything they've got here, and as you said earlier, and I agree with you, come next week when Michael Vick is active, we'll see that entire package, I would imagine, opened up as the weeks go on.
Yeah, and the other day when I was asking all those questions, Andy did a pretty good job of maintaining his poker face. You never would have known they were going to run this much of it.
Look at this formation. I'm going to have you dissect what we just saw as Deshaun Jackson lunges for a first down. How about that spread out formation by the Eagles?
Well, you want a spread offense? I'll give you a spread offense. Andy Reid says, you see here, there's 3 and 3, but the big guys on the outside are actually offensive linemen. And so now you've got 3 blockers in the middle. I think Andy had way too much time on his hands this summer.
They look at Deshaun Jackson along the sideline, who had to reach to get the first down. He looks like he's all right, but he's been busy. Has a touchdown, 71-yarder from Cobb. Pressure on Cobb over the middle, hangs in, finds the rookie who loses the football to a teammate. They're going to mark LaShawn McCoy down at the 30, even though Macklin came out of there with a football on the fumble.
Well, this is what you don't want to have as a quarterback. Pressure right up the middle in your face, but it's what Kevin Cobb is faced with. But he has some presence there, hangs in the pocket, knows he's got to get the ball out quick, and the quicker throw is underneath. Now, did the ball come out? Hard to tell on that angle.
It looked like it might have, and the Eagles, in the end, have a bad call go against him because Macklin was there to pick it up. And now penalty flags fly and a false start.
False start. Number 59, offense, 5-yard penalty, second down.
You're trying to get the ball snapped because of the risk of maybe a challenge coming from Sean Payton, but you know, that is something going back to last week that was somewhat of an issue, was the cadence and then the false starts. Here's another look at it. It looked to me like the ball came out prior to McCoy going to the ground.
Yeah, but any challenge, I mean, theoretically, although they're not, would have come from Philadelphia because Macklin was there to pick it up and run with it. 2nd and 9. They fake and end around and throw it underneath the Westbrook, who tries to hang on to the football, and it's 3rd down as Westbrook gets 2. So we have seen the playbook. I think they're on page 93 of the Philadelphia Eagles offensive playbook. They've gone deep into that thing here in the first half.
Well, and you know, I mean, you just don't show up on Sunday and run these plays, and so you know, I'm certain that a number of these types of Wildcat sets that we've seen weren't just put in this week, but they were put in throughout training camp.
Right on the edge of field goal range for Akers. Underneath, it's Selleck. First down. He does not go down. with Shanley on his back, carried him for a first down.
Good route there by Brent Selleck. He leans up on Shanley and then comes out of it, and you can tell that there's a real comfort level with Cobb and Selleck because the ball came out on time just as Selleck was coming out of his break.
Who'd you room with, Novacek, over the years?
I had my own room.
Oh,
I know that doesn't surprise you.
Here's Westbrook. Okay, back to the line of scrimmage. That's it. It's been a good first half, and right now the Eagles are inside field goal range for Akers as they trail by 3 with just over 5 minutes to play. Cedric Ellis made that last stop. Remy Adele checks out. 2nd and 10 as we await the 10th play of this drive. Complete. That's the rookie Macklin. Wasn't even thrown to last week at 6.
Yeah, well, it's pretty obvious to me that the fact that Kevin Cobb got to work with the #1 offense all week, knew he was going to be the starter, that it's paid off. And Andy Reid has said it. He has said it all week long. Kevin Cobb has said it as well, that he thought he would play much better given the time to practice, and that's what we've seen. Early on, he got the early completions, and now he has settled in, and now it's just playing football the way he's always known how.
3rd down and 4. Pressure over the middle. Pass complete for a first down at the 10 to Avant. Boy, Cobb is tough. He stands in there and is willing to take a hit for the completion.
And a smart player. I mean, they got Randall Gay, number 20, coming on a slot blitz on the backside, right in the face of Kevin Cobb, and he sees it, and he's got to get it out. And to be able to throw it with that kind of urgency and with pinpoint accuracy, it's good stuff.
Cobb is now hit on passes to 6 different receivers. And here is Deshaun Jackson in the Wildcat. Cobb at the bottom of the screen. And a timeout by Philly.
Yeah, Andy Reid was on the sideline hollering for a timeout.
First down, Eagles. We come back. Westbrook now on the sideline, just limped off a moment ago. Ball's right at the 10. 1st and goal. Blitz. Cobb can't get away this time. Right up the middle. Harper came through and got the sack, a loss of 6. 2nd and goal.
Yeah, that time they were finally able to get to Kevin Cobb. Not much he could do with that.
And now a timeout is taken by New Orleans. We will take a break. 13th play of the drive coming up. 2nd and goal from the 16-yard line when we come back. Add these numbers to those numbers under pressure. Dropped back 14 times, sacked once moments ago, knocked down 3 times. 9 of 13, 120 yards and a touchdown for Cobb in his starting debut. Fake the handoff and throw. There's Selleck again. Fighting his way just shy of the 5. If you're going to bring Brent Selleck down, you better bring some help with you. And it's 3rd and goal as they march Selleck out right at the 5-yard line.
Yeah, he's been hard to get on the ground here in this first half. You see he's fighting, and you always worry about then going and knocking the ball out, because once a defender gets someone stood up, that's where the others come in, and that's what they try to do. Good job by Brent Selleck of protecting the ball.
Cobb is 8 for 8 on this drive. This is the 14th play of this drive. Cobb waits, has it batted in the air, and it drops incomplete. Anthony Hargrove had a couple of shots at it and could not pull in the interception.
Well, that was a dangerous throw there. When you throw that kind of ball like that down around the red zone, when you've got that many bodies, and when it gets tipped up in the air, he's very fortunate that that one's not intercepted. You don't, it's rare that a ball goes up like that and is incomplete.
Max Gene Gillis shoved Anthony Hargrove and basically helped Cobb avoid the interception by putting his hands into the chest of Hargrove. 23-yard attempt by Akers, and we're tied. And Akers goes down, and they throw a flag. Akers went down. Tracy Porter came through. We'll see what the variety is. If it's running into the kicker, then it would not be a first down, as opposed to roughing the kicker. Field goal was good. The Eagles would just keep it, refuse the penalty, and keep the points. And it appears that's the case. Riverone trying to make sure that the field goal was good before he announces. If it's roughing the kicker, it would be a personal foul on a 1st and goal. If it's running into the kicker, then it would not be a first down, and the Eagles would just refuse the penalty and take the points. Take a look. It's Porter off the top.
Running into the kicker, the penalty is declined. The field goal is good. Timeout.
You typically get the roughing the kicker when that hit goes into the plant leg of the place kicker. How about a drive that covered 8 minutes and 20 seconds, tied at 10. The only incompletion almost was an interception for Cobb, who was 8 of 9 on that drive. It covered 8 minutes 20 seconds, 68 yards. Capped on the Akers field goal. It's a 10-10 game. On the return, it's Roby. Courtney Roby on the return and out to the 30. They'll mark him just outside the 29, 24-yard return. We look ahead to Fox NFL Sunday next week. Starts with America's #1 pregame show, and then here are the matchups, and that includes the Saints at the Bills. And that kickoff at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. Check your local listings for the game and time in your area. And with 2 timeouts remaining, 2.5 minutes on the clock, plenty of time for Drew Brees to do something about this tie. Over the middle, pass was behind Shockey, incomplete. Gaither was coming on a blitz. The Saints picked it up, and Shockey had the pass a little behind him.
You go back to that last drive by Philadelphia offensively, a really nice drive, 15-play drive, as you said. But more importantly, to be able to take that kind of time, over 8 minutes off the clock, and keep this Saints offense on the sideline, very good. Now, clearly they're not real happy about the fact they had to settle for the 3 points.
Brees is in trouble. Out comes the football. This is a fumble. Back at the 15-yard line, recovered by New Orleans. And it's 3rd down. And the clock will wind to the 2-minute warning. And now Andy Reid's going to call a timeout. Looks like a good call of a fumble, and they mark it back at the 16-yard line.
Well, an excellent call by the official. That clearly was a fumble. The ball's back, open hand, coming forward means it's a fumble. And Drew, that's a couple times now. Both times that he's been hit like this, it's been because he's trying to buy more time to force a deep throw. And he just has run out of time in trying to do so.
Jeremy Shockey ended up recovering the fumble. Then Andy Reid used the Eagles' 2nd timeout.
Yeah, and a smart timeout there by Andy Reid, knowing that then he can be afforded the stoppage of the clock at the 2-minute warning, and with this being 3rd down.
Spread out formation. Breeze over the middle. Passes right into the chest of Shockey, who's flipped and brought down short of a first down. Good play by the rookie Macho Harris. 22 yards on 3rd and 24. So 4th down when we come back at the 2-minute warning here in Philadelphia in a 10-10 game.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by AT&T. Your world delivered.
This telecast is copyrighted by the NFL for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or of any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the NFL's consent is prohibited.
Drew Brees frustrated over on the sideline. Just had a 22-yard completion, 2 yards short of a first down. So Morstead will punt. Deshaun Jackson waits for it. Fielding it inside his own 5-yard line. And a penalty flag on a block in the back. This will be against Philadelphia. And instead of letting it head into the end zone, Philadelphia is going to be tight down by their own end zone after this penalty.
There's flags all over the place out there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I know the first one, I think it was on Chris Clemens, should not have happened. I mean, that was just a dumb mistake on his part, and then there were several others, so take your pick.
That'll be the 4th straight special teams penalty against Philadelphia. But you get the feeling with the number of flags that are out there that there's more than one foul.
That's what I think.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, just here to support you, pal.
That's what I think.
There are 2 fouls on the play. Illegal block in the back. During the return by the receiving team, number 91. A penalty is declined. Illegal block in the back. Number 43. Also on the receiving team. Half the distance of the goal. First down.
That's Leonard Weaver. Clemens, you're right, Troy, was the other one. And the penalty happened so deep in Philadelphia territory. They're going to mark the ball just outside the 3. And it started with Deshaun Jackson fielding a punt inside the 5, which is usually a no-no.
Well, Kevin Cobb's real appreciative of that. Now we'll see what Andy wants to do. He called a timeout thinking he was going to get good field position. They gave up the big pass there to Shockey, which allowed them to back him up here.
And the handoff is to Westbrook, who takes it to the 6. And now New Orleans will turn the tables on Philadelphia, and they'll take a timeout, trying to get it back. Let's look at the day for Kevin Cobb. The big highlight, 71 yards and a touchdown to Deshaun Jackson. And he has really stood tall and tough in the face of pressure this entire first half.
Yeah, I think he has too, Joe. I mean, that's the one throw there that was ill-advised, and you've got to be real careful. I mean, if he was fortunate, because otherwise now you're taking 3 points off the board, and that's what you can't do. But the rest of it, I think he's been very, very good. I mean, he's had a heck of a first half, as you can see, 131 yards, and has made some really good decisions under duress.
Inside handoff to Westbrook.
Okay, fellas, okay, guys.
Takes it out to the 9, a gain of 2. Shanley on the stop. And a timeout again taken by New Orleans with 3rd down coming up. The Visa halftime show is coming up. And that report will consist of Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy. Scores and highlights from around the league. And the Fox Sports Ticker will keep you updated with up-to-the-second stats. And so Kevin Cobb, who the Eagles in 2007 traded out of the first round in a trade with Dallas of all teams. Dallas takes Anthony Spencer back in 07, and the Eagles got the 36th pick overall. That went to Cobb, a 3rd and a 5th. Cobb getting his first start, and he's making, I think, not only sure his front office proud with the way he's playing here in his first start, but I'm sure he's going to get a lot of attention by other organizations around the league after this effort against the Saints.
Yeah, and I think here I would expect them to move the pocket with him a little bit right now.
He throws behind Deshaun Jackson. He had the receiver open, missed him, and it's 4th down.
We had a lot of time there too, and if they were able to get the completion to Deshaun Jackson and put the ball out in front of him, then Deshaun had room to run. He picks up the 1st down, and then I'm guessing that Andy would have then been aggressive in the play calling to see if maybe they could come away with some points.
As it is, the incompletion. Remember, New Orleans is without a timeout, so had they opted to run the ball, the clock would be running right now. Instead, it's stopped, and Drew Brees will get a chance to move the Saints down the field.
A minute and a half of a lifetime in Drew Brees.
Reggie Bush on the return from inside the 45. Not much, and gets bent backward. Out to the 46, just a 4-yard return after a 50-yard punt by Sav Rocket.
You know, even New Orleans, when you look at what they've done here in this first half, I mean, they're approaching 200 yards of offense against an excellent defensive team. You know, I know that it's you always kind of wonder what you got when you go into week 2, because it's hard to base a lot on one game after week 1, but I think it's fair to say that everyone regards this Philly defense very highly, and yet the Saints have moved the ball well.
Out of the shotgun, plenty of time for Brees, who steps up and hits his receiver Reggie Bush in the open field and down near the 25-yard line to the 24. A 30-yard completion. And this crowd is groaning about what they perceive as a missed call out on the edge in protection for Brees, with the hands to the face. Brees steps up down the middle. Colston with a catch and a touchdown. In a blink, the Saints go down the field, and Colston has his 2nd of the day.
Well, they just go verticals on that left side, and Drew Brees has so much confidence that he can put the ball wherever he needs to put it to give his guy a chance, that he's willing to take some shots that, quite frankly, a lot of other quarterbacks just aren't willing to do. He had one-on-one with Colston. He gave him a chance up high, and they get the touchdown.
25-yard completion on the touchdown, 3rd of the year for Colston, who is back. Thumb injury last year for Colston, who had just 47 catches after a team record 98 in 2007, and he has started hot here in 09.
Well, the route is he's going to go right up the seam here, and you see he's one-on-one, and the ball's high, and that's where Colston's strength is. A good route runner. He's able to haul the ball in. He's got good hands, but you put it up high to a tall receiver and just give him a chance to make a play. You got Reggie Bush. He's been doing this a little bit more than what he'd probably like here today, but he's done a good job helping out in protection.
It's an old story by now with Colston, with a 252nd pick back in 2006. And outside of that thumb injury, he has been nothing short of spectacular on the outside for Drew Brees. Big target, 6'4", 225 out of Hofstra.
What a luxury Drew Brees has when you drop back and you've got 4 guys that you feel really good about throwing the football to, and that's why you throw for 5,000 yards, and that's why no one in that group even had 1,000 yards receiving last year, because he's spreading it around, and it really puts the burden then on the defense, because you never know where it's going to go.
This crowd at Lincoln Financial Field was hot about a non-call. One play before the touchdown throw to Marcus Colston, which we will show you. This is Ellis Hobbs on the return for Philadelphia, and Hobbs gets it to the 21. 37 seconds left, and we go 2 plays back. And on the left side with the work against Clemens and that hand up to the face.
Well, there's no doubt. You see Clemens coming around the corner, and And it looked to me like he had a hand on it. As you can tell, he's got the hand up to the face mask there. And even if you're not going to call hands to the face, I mean, it looks to me like it's a pretty good hold.
That was Stinchcomb who got away with one. Alberto Rivera, the referee, was looking right at it and didn't call it. Touchdown play followed, and now here is Avant. And the Eagles will spend their final timeout with 30 seconds left. So Philadelphia not willing to lay back and let the halftime scoreboard read 17-10. Andy Reid keeps the pedal down, and with 30 seconds left, the ball is at the Eagles 47.
You know, I think in a lot of situations, Andy Reid in a game like this with Kevin Cobb, you'd say, hey, let's play it a little closer to the vest. You know, we saw that on the previous possession. You give the ball back to the Saints, they go right down the field. But it's pretty apparent from what we've seen here in this first half, the Saints are going to move the football, and they're going to score some points. And so that mindset then has to change for Andy. And first start or not, we've got to get points.
David Akers' career long is 57 yards, which would mean taking it to the 39-yard line. A blitz. Westbrook picks it up, and the pass is behind the intended receiver, Kevin Curtis.
I don't know that people really know what an athlete that Kevin Cobb is. I mean, he's got great athleticism in the pocket and can really move. I mean, I think people generally think of him as being more of a pocket passer, and he can certainly do that, but a heck of an athlete going back to what he did in college. I mean, a lot of that was throwing on the move, and so he's very adept at throwing from various platforms.
2nd and 10. Quick setup and throw to the sideline, and that's Jackson who hops out of bounds with a first down.
Good job by Deshaun Jackson getting what he can, and then knowing that they don't have any timeouts and he needs to get out of bounds to stop the clock. I tell you, I've been very impressed with Deshaun Jackson at the end of last season, and then what little we've seen up to this point this season. You know, some rookie mistakes last year, putting the ball on the ground prior to crossing the goal line and all, but he has really developed into a heck of a player.
Hey, take it right.
Cobb throws sideline, and the pass is caught out of bounds as Curtis, and now the Eagles are definitely inside field goal range for David Akers.
You know, it's a hard quandary for a defense. I mean, you sit there and say, okay, well, we don't want to give up the big play, we can't give up an easy one, so you stay off as a corner, and then you have someone who's being patient, taking the underneath throws and knocking off 5 to 10 yards of completion. Now you're slowly getting into field goal range. You know, my guess is that they're either going to say, okay, we're going to give you the underneath stuff, we're okay with you just getting a field goal, or they're going to challenge it. If they do that, then you take your shot.
I don't know how much more the Eagles want to mess with his field position. The pass is complete. That's Curtis. And now with 9 seconds left, the ball's at the 14-yard line, and you have a chance to take a crack at the end zone.
Great job by Kevin Cobb seeing this. He sees the corner here. Tracy Porter jumps it, thinking that he's going to come to the slot receiver on the out route. That leaves Kevin Curtis all alone along the sideline. That's a hard thing to see for a quarterback and then react to that. Nice job by Kevin Cobb.
So now first down at the New Orleans 14.
And now you just can't take a sack.
Cobb, end zone, and throws it away. Now 3 seconds left, and the Eagles will have to settle for the field goal try. But in his first start, Cobb, trying to match Drew Brees, got his team in position to at least take a legitimate shot at a touchdown.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, as he's coming over to the sideline, you know, everybody congratulating him on the job that he just did. Not easy to do. To take the ball where he had it, to drive this team down after the defense gave up in 2 plays, a pretty big touchdown prior to the half.
32-yard field goal try by Akers. And Akers ends that drive with 3 points. We are at the half here in Philadelphia. 17-13 for the Saints. Stay tuned. The NFL on Fox will continue after this from your local Fox station.